Hello guys and dolls, welcome back to Honey Badger 3D Print and Paint. Today we are taking a look at the TwoTrees Ts2. But before we get started, roll those credits and a word from our sponsors. PCBWay are proud sponsors of the channel. They offer industry-leading 3D printing services covering all types of materials and processes. They also offer industry-leading online CNC machine services from milling, machining, and turning in all the materials you could possibly need. They also offer a fully online prototyping PCB service. Everything from assembly through to design, you can do it all online with an easy system to use for quality. So for all of your needs, check out PCBWay in the link in the video description. Okay, so what we have here is the latest offering in lasers from TwoTrees. It comes with an enclosure in the kit that we have, but let's get rid of that for a moment and we'll come to the enclosure in a bit. So what we're working with here is a 20-watt laser that has a working area of 418 by 418. It comes with its own honeycomb. You can see here there's a metal plate that goes underneath that. This comes kind of as a kit. You do have to assemble all of your X and Y axis, and there's an awful lot of accessories that come with the package that we have. So the package that we have right now on TwoTrees website is about £1,200 delivered. It comes with an enclosure, a rotary tool, comes with the 400 by 400 base, comes with a air assist as well, and it also comes with some feet that can go on the corners that can raise the whole machine up. The machine does have physical end stops on X and Y, and it has both a manual and an automatic Z axis. So you can always make sure that you get that Z perfect. Now we've done a number of different things. I actually did one of these before. I've done another one. I did another pair of glasses. We've done some coasters. We've also tried some different materials. So we've got some metal here, and we've got some plastic, acrylic, and all sorts of things. Let's talk about lasers to begin with, right? We've seen a lot of growth in this space. We've featured a few different machines on this channel. They started out at about 1 watt, then they got to 5, then they got to 10, now they're at 20, and there's already 40-watt lasers coming out as well. Something that you need to remember with these machines is that these are class 4 laser products. These are dangerous if you are not careful. There are a lot of different things that you need to worry about. First and foremost is whenever this machine is on, you need to be wearing your glasses, okay? Basic safety here, guys. These machines are not forgiving. If you do not abide by the safety procedures, you will get hurt, you'll lose an eye, you'll burn yourself, or you'll damage the machine, which could lead to something else as well. This machine does have some really good security features and some safety features in it. So it has a kill stop button there that means you can immediately turn the machine off. There is a flame and smoke detector on it as well. If you have it hooked up to light burn, you can also use the I think it's called zero motion or something like that. But it's basically where if the machine doesn't move for I think over half a second or over a second, it will just cut the machine off entirely. It does have the honeycomb, and that has got the protective base. I highly recommend using that, and I highly recommend buying ones that are the right size for the machine that you have. The air assist is pretty good, hooks up nice and easily. One thing I will say is that once you include once you put the hood on this, there is an extractor hose and a little fan that goes on that extractor to mean that you can extract out all the fumes from when you are laser engraving or cutting. That's great, but you need 3 power supplies for this machine. One for the machine, one for the air assist, and another one for the fan that goes on the extractor. Unnecessary. This is only a 5-watt power supply, so they could have just had it so it plugged into a USB port coming off the main board, and they could have very easily made another USB port that came off the back that just meant you could power a 5-watt fan via USB. There's no reason for me to have 3 power supplies to make this thing work. It feels excessive, to say the least. That being said, it does work. It does everything it says on the tin. It ticks all the boxes. It does everything it's supposed to do. It does a really, really good job at its engraving and its cutting. So this comes as a full pattern, and I will show you in a moment the different things that we did on this machine. It engraves really, really well, and it cuts really, really well as well. We have engraved on stainless steel. We have engraved on thin aluminium. We've done wood. So this is plywood, but for our Americans, it's basswood, I think it's called. And we've cut up to 5mm on this. And the cuts are pretty clean when it's doing that. It takes a couple of passes to do 5mm, but it'll do up to 15mm at 100% power and about 10mm a minute to go through the thing. It is pretty quick because, again, this is a 20-watt laser. So especially when you're engraving, this can go about 10,000mm a minute and gives you a really nice, fine, clean engraving. What I will say is that I'm still not blown away by lasers. It's just a personal opinion. It's just where I am. We've been following the hobby for a little while. I still don't find what lasers do to be that interesting or that cool. Certainly not to the extent that we enjoy 3D printing. And as a result of that, this really is going to be the last laser we review on this channel, unless something really special came along. I know people like Xtool have got things like the P1 coming out, which is, for a start, it's a CO2 laser, but as well it has a webcam inside that means that you can position your prints a little bit easier. What I would suggest you do is, once you have figured out where, once this is at home and you figured out where that 0, point is, I would just print some blocks or cut some blocks that mean that you could glue them to this chassis, glue them to this bed, and then you'd always be able to place it on the chassis exactly where it needs to be. Can be a little finicky trying to figure out exactly to get 0, on this bed to line up with 0, of the laser. It can be a little bit frustrating. Build quality wise, this is one of, if not the best laser we have had from a build quality perspective. Everything runs smoothly, nice heavy duty drag chains, all the wires are kept out of the way. It is a really good example of what you can do when you actually apply some basic engineering and some basic quality of life techniques to making these machines. This doesn't feel like a laser that's been put together from spare parts, which is a number of the lasers we've had in the past. This is very clearly a purpose-built machine, and it does a really good job at what it's supposed to do. The extractor does a really good job. The hood is really easy to put up. It actually collapses all the way down. I would absolutely recommend that you get the enclosure. A lot of plywoods use formaldehyde in their glues that bond these together, which means the fumes that come off whilst you are cutting are super toxic. So you really, really, really do not want to, you don't want to be breathing those in. So let's take a look at some of the things we've done, and then I'll give you a quick 360 of the machine so you can see how it looks from different angles, different features and things like that. As I say, a really, really nicely built machine, nicely put together. The glasses they include are these ones, and they are nice and wrap around the side. They are, again, the air assist works really well. What I will say is the air assist isn't quiet, but then the laser isn't overly quiet whilst it's going either. It's obviously got the fan on the back on top of the laser to keep it cool and everything else. As I said, let's take a look at some of the parts, and then we'll move on to sort of final thoughts and scores. So let's start with the obvious stuff. So we've got some Harry Potter coasters here. Really, really nice. Did all the different houses. You can see Slytherin came out really nicely. The Hufflepuff and the Gryffindors and all that. It's really nice and clean. Came out really well on this particular material. I really like them. It's a little bit difficult to get them in the centre because there's no camera. Then we come on to doing some stuff on metal. So this was a dog tag. Try and get this in focus. Hold on. There we go. So this was obviously just Honey Badger 3D print and paint. Our logo, done really nicely. Came out really nice. I was surprised at how well it managed to do. There's no pen. There's no sort of pre-treatment to this. This is just stick it right on and go straight away. This was on about 100%. And I think it came out really nicely. Then we've done some of the reactive aluminium stuff that came with the machine. I'll be honest, this didn't come out amazing. This is more the picture than the laser. This particular picture just isn't that good, and you can see that the laser has savagely deformed the aluminium because it's so thin. We did try some of the black as well. This came out worse somehow. It really not good. To be clear, again, this is more the image than it is the actual material. Trying to do this with our Honey Badger logo, just not a great idea. You're not going to be able to import anything you want and just go. Because it's just not everything's going to come out perfectly, which is super frustrating. We did some glasses again, so we did these on the last one. We just glued these, but they do have fixings on them. There is etching on these as well as cutting. It did a nice job. This is the pièce de résistance. So we did one of these on another laser as well. I really liked it. Fretwork and all of that stuff comes out really nicely. It cuts really clean. All of the tabs come out. They all go together. The problem with doing one of these is that you are limited on size a little bit because you can't scale because the tabs all are a specific size. But the laser etching came out really nicely. This is the kind of stuff you would do on an Etsy store, and I think it came out really, really nice. Super clean, not that much in burn marks or anything else, and frankly, I think, is something you could pretty much stick straight on an Etsy store. This particular one I found on the internet somewhere. I'll be honest and say I can't remember where I got it from, but I think it came out really good, and I'll be using that at Christmas for my father-in-law. So yeah, you can see, really nice stuff. So look, as a tool to do a job, it absolutely does that. It absolutely does that. It's easy to use. I'm not a huge fan of light burn because you have the same problem with this machine as you have with all machines, which is that, frankly, there isn't a crib sheet. There isn't a set of settings that I have found that I can use out of the box that tell me 3mm plywood, this is what you should use to cut, this is what you should use to engrave. There isn't one. A case in point is this aluminium sheet, right? Aluminium sheet, but it's bent because the laser's power was too high or the laser was going too slow. It heated the aluminium whilst it was doing it, and it's bent it all out of shape. It's frustrating. You effectively have to get a bunch of scrap material together and then put it into the machine, do your test prints, do your test cuts, do your test engraves, and then draw up your own little crib sheet of this is what this does, this is what this does. It's all trial and error, trial and error. Maybe if you're really into laser engraving, maybe that's a part of it. Or maybe if you're into laser engraving, like I am to 3D printing, there's a more obvious place to start or a more obvious way to do it. I don't think there is. I mean, again, with Xtool's slicer, so Xtool had its own piece of software that you selected the wood and you selected what you wanted it to do, and it told you what your laser's settings need to be. Now, you could change them if you wanted to, make it go faster, make it go more power, whatever, but ultimately it selected it all for you. So it made life really easy for new people to the hobby. Lightburn isn't hard to use, but it is a little bit intimidating. There is nothing in it that's intuitive. You're just sort of trying things, and then fairly quickly you pick up that, you know, this needs to go faster, or it needs to go slower, or the air assist needs to be on, or whatever it might be. There's just not profiles. There's not a import this profile and this will be your starter for 10, right? Like a basic Cura profile for a 3D printer, where, all right, it might not be the best, you might not get perfect results, but it's a pretty solid place to start, right? You can put something into that slicer and then it will spit out a model that it can use and pretty much figure out, you know, through forums and things like that. It's less trial and error, I've found, with the stuff for 3D printers than there is for this. That being said, if you are into lasers and this isn't your first laser, it's really nice. Like, it really does work well. It cuts really well and it engraves really well, and the air assist works, and the features work. The automatic Z's really cool, and you can get a touch screen for this, although it's basically just an MKS screen that just comes as a little screen, so it's not amazing. The rotary tool's really cool. Does what you want it to. Ticks all the boxes. It's cool. It does what it's supposed to do, and it is the best laser that we've had in the shop. I just don't think I care. I don't think I care enough about lasers to want this to be around. Like, I don't know if I want to make things like these on a regular basis. So in England, we don't have Harbour Freight and things like that. We basically have a place called B&Q. And the problem with B&Q is that if you go in there, you're more likely to find a piece of wood that's completely spherical than you are to find one that's flat. If I give you an example, so this is a piece of 3.6mm ply. Now you can see that it is bowed as anything. It's not straight on the sides either. It's asymmetrically bowed. So it's bowed up at this corner, but in at this corner. And it's all warped and awful, and you can't use it. It won't, even if I cut this down to size, I'd have to sort of nail the middle to my desk so that I can get the thing flat so that it'll engrave properly. And that's not a criticism of the machine at all. That is just the material. So I have to order my material off of Amazon, and it basically comes in these A3 size sheets. They're not particularly cheap. A pack of 12 is about 20 quid, so they're like £2 each. Now, again, you can do most of the panels you need to do something like this, and that actually took two of these. Every time I order some of those from Amazon, they come in different colours. I don't know why. I'm ordering from the same person, and every single time the panels come up complete. The pack is the same, but then the next pack, because of the nature of wood, I suppose, it looks different. There's a lot of frustration and there's a lot of learning curve to picking up a laser. If you do, this is a really good laser to pick. It does everything it's supposed to. I just don't think I care enough. I just don't think I'm into lasers. I'm sorry, guys. We've had half a dozen on the channel. The first ones that we got were very obviously new to the market. You know, they were the end of threes kind of thing, of where, you know, this was trying to make the laser the cheapest tool they possibly could, and they were knocking them out for 200, sort of less than £200. This isn't designed to be that, right? This is designed to be a professional laser, something that you could open an Etsy store with, and you could start churning out real quality Etsy stuff with. But that's not me, and I don't want to do that. And as cool as these sort of these Jack Daniels bottle holders are, or being able to engrave our spatulas, or making coasters, as cool as it is, kind of rather just 3D print something. And that's the bias of my hobby coming through. So look, as I said, we're not going to be reviewing any more lasers on the channel unless someone brings us something really special. This is scores on the doors. This is an 8.5 out of 10. I really do wish it had a webcam so that it was easier for me to place my model. The enclosure does its job. It does extract. I don't want to have 3 power supplies for everything. They could have just made it so that this plugs into this main box, and the same with the fan as well. So the fan is USB. So it's really unforgivable that I can't just plug that into a port on the back. There's literally no need for me to be able to do that. But on the enclosure, you can pick the side that you want it to go out of, and that comes with a hose and everything else. And again, this is a really good example of a high quality, purpose-built laser. And I just don't think I care. I just want something that's easier to use, where I don't have to fumble about in the dark in a slicer. I'd really like a profile that I could just import, and it's already got, like, you know, select your material, basswood, right, fine, do this, do you want to cut it, do you want to engrave it, you want to do that, fine. And that X-Tool Studio did a really good job of that. It really did. And I've had a rant quite a few times about 3D printer companies creating their own slicers, and that they shouldn't do it. They're not software companies. But that's because there's quality alternatives out there. There aren't high quality alternatives. Lightburn is a relatively small organization. You can use laser GRBL with this as well. I've tried to use it. I find that even harder to use than Lightburn. Like, the laser GRBL is something that I cannot wrap my head around. So I guess that's kind of it, right? This is a great laser. It's a really solid kit. I don't like the software that you need to use lasers. Not specifically this laser, although this laser, I don't like the software for lasers. I want someone to bring out something of a higher quality, that's more user-friendly, that makes it easier to do the things that I need to do. And unfortunately, Lightburn just gives you a little bit too much freedom too early on. So, yeah, look, this is a really good machine. I honestly don't think we're going to keep it in the shop, because I just don't think I have any long-term use for it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I really do. These are great tools to use and have if you have a use case for them, and I don't. So, as I say, this will be the last one that goes on the channel. I hope you guys like the video. I hope it was somewhat helpful to see the things that it does and see around the machine. We did do a live stream where we put it together. It took about an hour. I didn't enjoy that process either. So that's where we are, right? This is more than likely going to either gather dust or end up being donated to a local maker's hub or something like that, because I think they could get really good use out of it with people who know what they're doing, and that isn't me when it comes to lasers. So thank you very much for watching. Do not forget to like and subscribe if you want to see 3D printers. If what you want to see is more lasers, don't subscribe because we're not going to have any more. I don't want any more lasers. We've already said no to a couple since this one came along, and we're going to continue to say no unless someone brings out something that genuinely makes my life easier to use this, so it becomes a useful tool for me as an amateur. But yeah, so thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next video.